Welcome to Stoked, the podcast that helps adventure elopement photographers hit six figures and beyond in their businesses without hustling on social media. I'm your host, Megan MacPhail, a former burnt-out emergency veterinarian that quit my hard-earned career to become an elopement photographer. Now I'm living a life I absolutely love, full of travel, adventure, and financial abundance, and I am hell-bent on helping you do the same. Are you ready to start booking out your calendar with dream couples in breathtaking locations and feeling genuinely stoked about your elopement photography business, life, and bank account? Then let's dive into this week's episode. Hey, it's your host, Megan MacPhail, and today I have a special guest. She was requested from a lot of the people that listen to the podcast to talk about Pinterest. So today we have Paula, and she is a Pinterest and blog manager for wedding and elopement photographers. Thank you so much for joining us on the podcast, Paula.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited.
Yeah, me too. I'm so pumped. So first I want to know, what is it like working with elopement photographers? Are they just your best clients?
Honestly, yes. Honestly, especially since a lot of my clients have found me through you.
Mm-hmm.
They are just the sweetest, kindest people,
Oh,
and
I
they are
love that.
so good with boundaries as well. They sometimes email me on the weekends, and I read my emails on the weekends because
Mm-hmm.
I cannot stop. But they're always like, "Feel free to answer on Monday. Like, don't need to rush." And I'm always, "Oh my gosh, that's just so sweet. I cannot even."
Oh, that's so cute. Yeah. And for those who don't know, Paula is also the Pinterest coach inside the Elopement Photographer Mastermind. So she helps all of our members set up their Pinterest and make sure that they're killing it on there and stuff like that. So she's a big part of the mastermind because I have never been that great with Pinterest, but obviously you're the queen. How did you get into Pinterest?
So when I started, I was like a generic social media manager. I tried working with like Facebook and Instagram management, and I just didn't like how on top of it at all times you had to be. Like
Mm-hmm.
I was already struggling managing my own platforms, and then like you manage things for other people and you all the time need to be engaging and posting stories, and like you can never take some time off. And I
Mm-hmm.
wanted to start my business because I wanted time off and not
Mm-hmm.
be on all the time. So when I discovered Pinterest and blogging, and that you can literally do these things and then they work for you in the background and you don't need to like comment on other people's blogs or pins or whatever, so they would get engagement. Oh my gosh,
Mm-hmm.
that was like a match made in heaven for me.
Yeah.
And yeah, for Pinterest, it's just also so positive. People just look at pretty pictures. There's no trolls, no icky people, honestly.
Yeah, no
So it's
drama.
no drama. So yeah, I really, really love it. And I would never go back to anything
Yeah.
else.
Yeah, I mean, that kind of goes for just marketing in general, right? Like you hear me on the podcast all the time about how hustling on Instagram is so annoying and takes up way too much time for very little reward. And then you have Pinterest and blogging, which kind of works for you forever. And we should talk about it because you started with just Pinterest, right? But now you make it so that if somebody's going to sign up for your Pinterest management, they have to do both Pinterest and blogs.
Yeah, so this kind of goes to your message of how you always talk about the top of the funnel stuff where
Mm-hmm.
you need to generate traffic to your website, and then your website and blogs are the things that convert. And that's where I noticed the gap. If I was just doing Pinterest marketing and people did not have blogs, the client journey was just really crappy, honestly, because,
Mm-hmm.
people click from a pin and they expect to see more of that elopement. I don't know, for example, the beachside elopement in Florida,
Mm-hmm.
and they go straight to your contact page. Like there is a gap from like that photo to they are not ready to inquire just yet.
Mm-hmm.
So if you don't have blogs, then your pins are not going to be as powerful as if you do.
Yeah. And then by blogging, you're also getting more bang for your buck because you're also getting on Google and having search engine optimization and stuff. So you're really not only driving people to your website through Pinterest, but also through Google and your blogs, which is just like a double whammy, which is amazing. That's really the way to do it, is to do them both together. So what would you tell a budding elopement photographer who's like, I'm sick of Instagram. I want to start getting seen on Pinterest. I want to start Pinterest. What would you tell them to do first?
So, first, I would encourage people to have a good portfolio, like not meaning that like have great images straight away, but just have a bank of content so you can pin something consistently. And even with that, I recommend that you blog all those galleries before. Like you said, make bang for your buck on SEO for Google. And so you have photos to pin on Pinterest. So, overall portfolio, first thing, so you
Mm-hmm.
have something to market, then blogs, and only then do Pinterest. Don't kind of feel like you have to start on Pinterest straight away. But if you have time, go for it.
Mm-hmm.
There's no problem. But if you don't have time, I would rather you start on those things and then add on Pinterest.
Yeah. And how much time should somebody spend a month on Pinterest if they're doing it on their own?
So it depends on a person. With my nowadays kind of super streamlined process per client, I spend about 4 to 5 hours, but that's because I am really on top of it. I
Mm-hmm.
have done my keyword research. I know exactly what goes where. But for someone who is very new and still trying to find their way around keywords and writing things the best way for Pinterest, it can take 10, 12 hours. So that's roughly the time frame.
Yeah. I'm just going to ask some of the basic questions because, again, I've never been like a big Pinterest girly. Like, I've messed around on there. And you know my story about paying somebody to do it for me for a while and didn't get a huge return on it. So, how often would you recommend pinning your images every day?
So, whatever you can stick with consistently, even if it's one pin a day. But nowadays, when my clients start with me, I start them at 3 pins per day
Mm-hmm.
minimum because you need to push out more and more content these days to be seen.
Mm-hmm.
But just start somewhere if you're practicing. But I would say minimum is 3 pins per day.
Okay. What's the maximum if you have like
So,
so many images and
if you
blogs?
have a lot of images and a lot of time to pin, then 5 to 7 pins could be good as well. But
Hmm.
usually, when I work with my clients and they have large portfolios, I cap it at 4 to 5 pins per day because my pins, when I create them, are so optimized with keywords, they don't need that many pins to
Hmm.
see good results. So as long
Awesome.
as the pins are optimized, then 3 to 4, well, minimum 3 pins should
Hmm.
be okay for you to do.
Love that. Super cool. Okay. So, what are some of your success stories of working with elopement photographers? Let's talk about those.
So I've had some great successes with elopement photographers because nowadays elopements are really popping off in this economy. People are trying to find better ways to get married and make the best return of investment for their like experience.
Hmm.
So the best I've had my clients get over 200 outbound clicks to their website, and to those who are still new with Pinterest, outbound clicks are basically the goal you are trying to get from Pinterest. It's people finding your pins and visiting your website from those. So
Hmm.
the more you can get, the better. But in general, some of my clients have seen inquiries already within the first 3 to 4 months. But normally, Pinterest is a slow burner and
Hmm.
it can take 8 months to a year to start getting your first inquiries, which is
Hmm.
another reason why I would say that Pinterest should not be the very first thing you outsource or do yourself, because blogs likely will rank faster than your pins will perform
Hmm.
better. So that's why I usually start either with blogging or both, because blogs normally perform better faster.
Yeah. And you were telling me before that a lot of your clients who have you manage both their blogs and Pinterest are getting like 70 to 80% of their inquiries from Google and Pinterest within like a year or something like that.
Yep.
Was that what you
Yep.
said?
Yes.
That's the
I
goal,
ha-
right? Because then it just works in the background. You don't have to engage and post all the time and wake up wondering what you need to put on Instagram to go viral or something. But it's slow, and that's what a lot of people are hesitant to put a lot of effort into SEO and Pinterest because you don't see the return for a long time, but it's worth it once it starts working.
Yeah. And another thing is that I often see is that people put in so much effort into their Instagram, but even Instagram is a slow burner, actually. It's
Hmm.
just kind of this fake insight that people like put on for going viral or something, like
Hmm.
that you will go viral and you will get all these inquiries, but instead you get trolls. But like
Yeah.
even on Instagram, the growth is slow. So wouldn't you rather do it on a platform that is less picky about your content, doesn't have all these crazy algorithm changes, doesn't have all the trolls and all the crazy stuff that happens in the back end, like working with Meta, but that's like a whole different thing.
Yeah. That's
So,
a whole tangent we could go down.
yeah.
Yeah, that's so cool. Okay, so let's go back to outbound clicks because I know a ton of people who only look at their monthly views. 'Cause if you go to your Pinterest, it says you've gotten 20,000 monthly views or 7,000 or something like that. And people get really excited about that number. But the number they should really be focused on in the analytics is outbound clicks.
Yeah, the monthly views is essentially how many times your work has been seen by someone on Pinterest. So it doesn't mean that they actually paid attention to your photo. It just means that it was on people's screen at the time they were searching for that keyword. So it's not a bad metric to look at because it essentially tells us that your keyword strategy is working and you are getting visible. But if it doesn't convert to outbound clicks, then we need to work on other ways to try to increase those outbound clicks. And normally, how that looks like is by choosing the absolute best images, the best of the best, the eye catching work, or maybe even adding them to like some Canva templates. The things that perform best for me, what I've noticed quite often, is the stacks of like two or three of horizontal images that kind of create a little storytelling narrative. That
Yeah.
tends to be eye catching and get those outbound clicks. But overall, monthly views are not a bad metric to look at, but it should not be the goal.
Hey, photographer, do you dream of having a successful elopement photography business but don't know where to start? Imagine having the confidence to double or triple your prices, booking your calendar solid with dream couples and breathtaking locations, and feeling genuinely stoked about your business, your life, and your bank account. Then I'd like to introduce you to Stoked Academy, the go-to membership community for adventure elopement photographers that are ready to scale their businesses to six figures and beyond, all without hustling on social media. In Stoked Academy, you'll get access to everything you need to build a six-figure business, like mastering marketing strategies, pricing for profit, elopement planning, worksheets, templates, spreadsheets, and so much more. Plus, you'll connect with a positive, supportive community of elopement photographers who are as passionate as you are. And the best part? It's insanely affordable, like less than the cost of a new memory card for your camera. Plus, as a member, you'll get to join me for a monthly group coaching call where we dive deep into strategies that will take your business to the next level. If this sounds awesome, then head over to stokedacademy.com to learn more about the membership and join us. I can't wait to see you in there. Yeah, and if that's what you're tracking and it's going up every month, then theoretically, you should be getting outbound clicks, but you also need to go back and look at what content you're posting that is getting the outbound clicks to make sure that you kind of double down on that stuff, right? Because the goal is always to get people to your website. For me and the strategies I teach, I always want people going to your website and I want your website selling your services. People just seeing your posts, whether it's on Pinterest or social media or a blog post or something, and then just not being interested and going away, like that's not going to help anybody. They got to be able to convert people through their website into inquiries and bookings and stuff.
Yeah, and also when it comes to monthly views, it's also normal that they fluctuate. And I don't want anyone to ever look at their analytics and see that, I don't know, like analytics are going down, therefore it's not working. So the analytics and platforms and marketing is super duper seasonal with all platforms, but also in Pinterest. You can often see, since Pinterest is the platform people go to prepare for all sorts of celebrations and big life events that you will see. Like, for example, there will be a dip in your analytics naturally around Christmas time because people
Mm-hmm.
are all about Christmas gifts and the recipes and decor. And also around summertime because oftentimes people are traveling, enjoying summer, not being on their phones or social media that much. So,
Mm-hmm.
like, even if you see those ebbs and flows in the analytics, like, do not give up on
Yeah.
marketing.
Yeah, I love that. And so here's a deeper question. If it takes such a long time to build up your outbound clicks onto your website, why should people focus on Pinterest? Why should it be part of their marketing strategy?
So, Pinterest is just the platform to be for wedding and elopement photographers and overall creatives in the industry, because that is where people will go to plan their weddings and elopements. And another thing is that often people will not actually say that they found you on Pinterest.
Hmm.
They will say they found you on Google, or they will jump through all these ways of where you are at and say the last touch point that they had with you. So, if they found you on Pinterest and they found you on Google and like got to your blog, and then from their blog they found your Instagram, then likely they will say that they found you on Instagram. So don't always think that if people don't say they found you on Instagram that they didn't find you on Pinterest, I mean.
Yeah.
So that's the thing. But also it is always good to have this omnipresent marketing so that you
Hmm.
are found all over the place on Instagram, on Google, on Pinterest, even on Facebook, like wherever you can be found, it's good. Because what
Hmm.
we saw rather recently was with the TikTok ban, like any of these platforms can be taken away from you. So
Yeah.
if you are on Pinterest, it's a platform that is tied to your website. And while Pinterest can go away as well at some point, it is a nice place to have an additional marketing platform that leads people to that website that is yours that can convert.
Yeah, what I love about Pinterest is that it actually encourages people to kind of like get off the platform and onto your website. And the fact that you brought up omnipresence is so important because I know like several members of the Elopement Photographer Mastermind have messaged me recently with wins from inquiries where they were like, I just saw you everywhere. I saw you on Pinterest. I saw you on Google. As I was doing all of these searches, you just kept popping up with blogs, with images, with everything. And like, that's ideally what you want. You want to be in people's faces because they're going to inquire with the people that they keep coming across in all their searches, not the person that they just see like one Instagram post from or like a Pinterest image every once in a while. Like, the more you show up in these spaces, the more the momentum builds for your business, the more inquiries you get, the more bookings you get, the more front of mind you are for people who are searching for photographers. So, have you found that certain images work better on Pinterest? Because I know my concern back in the day was like, I'm an elopement photographer, so I don't have a lot of detail photos, and detail photos tend to do really well on Pinterest. What have you noticed as far as like, what are the images that do really well?
So for elopements, I've noticed that elopement activities actually started to perform really well. Like,
Mm.
for example, Jeep rides, always a
Hmm.
big hit because you can check for Jeep elopement photography and things like that, these kind of keywords on Pinterest,
Mm.
and people are really searching for that. Also, like elopement picnics, maybe if they went to some in and out after an elopement, like these kind of fun, like
Mhm.
candid moments do really, really well.
Ooh, that's, like, perfect also for, like, the elopement photographers when I'm telling them to build their portfolios to include activities, because that really does help people plan, like, these more exciting all-day elopements, and then here you are saying that those are the ones doing the best on Pinterest, so I just feel like that all goes together, and now I can use that as an example too, that those do really well on Pinterest. What about, like, campfires or horseback riding or something, like, just any kind of activity, people seem to like those.
Yeah, people seem to like activities and some really specific vibes. So I will say if
Mm,
you can use like playful couple keywords and like people are being playful, enjoying themselves in the moment, it feels like people are getting sick and tired of this narrative that everything has to be perfect and like
mhm.
posed.
Yeah.
So if you have playful vibes in the photos, if you have like these people enjoying themselves in a horseback even. And if it was a Western elopement keywords were popping off rather recently, like a couple
Mm,
months ago, but it's like a recurring trend. People like the cowboy hats and the jackets with like frills and fringes. So it's like
yeah.
it's a whole vibe. So I think the main thing is like if you can go really specific with what you're trying to portray and what you're trying to attract. So if
Yeah.
it's playful vibes, if it's like specific styles, if they even had that colorful elopement bouquet, even if it's just that one detail, the more
Hmm.
specific you can be. People are really specific in their vision of what they want their days to look like. And
Hmm.
oftentimes, what I see is that my clients even have Pinterest boards they share with their clients, and they have like these, like their whole vision board, and it is like these little details, the vibes, the emotions. And
Hmm.
another thing is that also backdrops matter. I noticed that oftentimes beach vibes do really well, mountain
Mm.
vibes do really well, and also wildflower season does wonders for like that
Wow.
spring summer elopements. Yeah,
Hmm. I love that. Yeah. I mean, and it also kind of encourages people to be their own artist too, because I feel like if you see the same trends over and over on Pinterest, you're probably going to just swipe right past them. But if you come across something truly unique, that's probably what does the best on there.
definitely.
Yeah.
And what I also recently have noticed that does well is non-traditional elopement dresses. Like the
Mm.
ones with like florals, like if they have these embroidered
Hmm.
flowers, or if it was like a black elopement dress, those sell like hotcakes, I will say.
Oh, that's so cool. That's given me so much to think about as far as getting back on Pinterest and putting some of the more unique stuff on there. So, if you had to end this podcast episode with the best advice that you could give an elopement photographer, what would that be?
Okay. That's you put me on the spot there, but
Yeah.
honestly, I would say build your portfolio first.
Hmm.
Like go do style shoots, model calls, whatever. Build that portfolio so you have beautiful photos to blog and to push out on Pinterest, since
Hmm.
Pinterest is quite heavily an aesthetics platform. So even if those photos are candid and playful, they are candid and playful because they are also pretty and like natural.
Hmm.
So definitely have that, build your portfolio first and then start your marketing from there, is what I would say.
Awesome. I love it. Cool. And how have you enjoyed working as a Pinterest coach in the Elopement Photographer Mastermind?
It is the best. I love that people are always actively asking questions and they want to get on Pinterest. So that's always really, really cool. And everyone is always all ears and want to
Hmm.
get the best info, which I can give because that's awesome.
Yeah. I love that. Yeah, they're the best group. And thank you so much for being our coach in there because, again, I'm not the queen of Pinterest. I've only ever messed around on there. I tell the members, like, do as I say, not as I do, because I've not
Yeah.
been the best about Pinterest. But I'm so thankful that we have you in there because you've been able to really help people take off on there and get excited about it and come up with a workflow. And the people who don't want to do it, they've just hired you to do it. So,
Pretty much, yeah. But I really like that also over the time that I've been there, I've seen several people celebrate their Pinterest inquiries. So that's
hmm,
really, really rewarding for me.
yeah.
And it just really shows me that I'm in the right place, that I'm pretty good at teaching, not only at doing. So it's really
Hmm.
cool.
Yeah, sometimes teaching is a lot harder than just doing things yourself. So cool. Well, where can people find you on social media and the internet?
So, ironically, you should find me on Instagram. That's where I am the most active. So, at Pin with Paula. And that is where you can also get my free Pinterest guide. If you want to
Mm,
DIY it, please just get that guide. I promise you, it's not the fluffy BS things that other people say is the ultimate Pinterest guide. It actually is. So,
I love that. And
really,
it's free.
please do. Yes, please
Okay.
get on Pinterest. So,
Yeah. Yeah. Grab her free guide, everybody. Thank you so much, Paula, for joining us on the podcast. A lot of people had been requesting that we do a podcast on Pinterest. So I was like, well, duh, we have a coach that can talk about it. So I'm so glad that you are here and you shared some of your knowledge. And hopefully, people now understand where to add Pinterest into their life, into their workflow, and all that stuff. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks so much for joining us on this week's episode of Stoked. If you enjoyed the show and you'd like to help support the podcast, please subscribe, leave a review, and tell a friend. If you're looking for more inspiring elopement photography content, check us out on Instagram at Megan MacPhail. And if you'd like to hear more about my business coaching and how I can personally help you hit six figures as an elopement photographer, then check out my website at www.meganmacphail.com.